There's something that is missing in America these days. And no, I'm not talking about the unity and feeling of brotherhood between everyone. I'm not talking about that because honestly, I don't have enough time in the day to talk about that. What we're missing, and what I'm seeing we're missing a lot of, is this idea that we can help the younger generation get better. We're missing this idea of mentorship, and we're missing the great things that can come out of it. So I guess, you know what? Let's take a look at that, I guess. All right. So it is June 7th, 2020, and I had the great honor today of participating in a podcastathon set up by the Wisconsin Podcast Association. And we were raising funds to help organization procure food to feed families in Wisconsin. The target goal is 5,000. I don't know if we hit that goal or not. I will hopefully know in the morning, June 8th. But as of this time, when I looked last, which was right before we went on at, what was it? We went on at 2 today. Yeah. So right before we went on, we were at like 3,500 of the 5,000 goal. So hopefully between 2:30 and 10 p.m., we got the rest. That's my hope. I'll let everyone know on social media tomorrow, the 8th. Today, when you're seeing this, hearing this. But I digress. We had a time limit of 25 minutes, which we're not exactly used to because we have Josh on the team who, well, you give him an inch and he will take 30,000 years to explain that inch. And so it was very much, we have 25 minutes, let's talk. And we were going through and batting around topic ideas about what could we do, what could we hit within that 25 minutes and be relevant with. And as we're going through this, we're like, we could talk about something that has impacted all of us on various levels. We can talk about mentoring and being mentored and how there's that change from going from it and what that change looks like. And that got me to thinking, in America these days, outside of, I guess you could say like apprenticeships, those things, you don't see that much. We're missing out on this concept of apprenticeships, for lack of a better term, mentorships, mentees, mentors, because we have this idea that we have to do everything ourselves. We have this rugged individualism from America's history, good or bad. That's not up for debate because, for some people it works well, but good or bad, this concept of individualism that I can do everything by myself has gone a little to the extreme. So I'm a Christian. Can't necessarily say grew up in the Christian church. Didn't start really going to church until high school. But one of the things that I started doing when I turned 21 was I started getting involved with the youth group. And the reason for that was when I was in youth group, I had people who poured into me, whether they realized it or not. And I wanted to do the same because I realized the importance of what helping others realize who they are, being there for them to support them is like. I realized as someone who had received it, what it is like. And it's something that I try to impart into the other guys as I've gone through this, and for me, thankfully, I've had both Aaron and Josh who have made that transition over from being a mentee, someone who's being mentored to that the mentor is taking time and energy, and phone calls and text messages and conversations, hard conversations at times. There were some very interesting conversations me and Aaron have had. But taking those conversations and them being the focus of me kind of like trying to push them along, seeing that potential in them, to them now being on the other side. And they're the ones now feeding into the younger generation. And that is awesome to see. I am beyond happy to see that. But unfortunately, that seems at times like that's the exception and not the rule. The exception being that they are the ones who are going out there and helping. Now, you have all these people who are like, oh, I volunteer, I feed the homeless, I do these construction projects, and great. I am not discrediting any of that. That is needed. But we do need people to feed into and care for our younger generation as well. In Don Jones' books, and I say books because he has multiple editions of these, but in his books and in his speeches for Be the Master, he always talks about one key thing that we all need to keep in mind. There's this thing called the birth rate. People every day are being born. People every day are getting slightly older, and there are a lot of people who are younger than us. And because of that, no matter how little we feel we may be able to inject into people's lives, there are always going to be people behind us who need a helping hand because they don't know things. You're finding, unfortunately, young men, young women growing up without both parents or a parent even. And they don't know how to do some of the things that you would traditionally, I guess you would say, gendered roles passed down through the family. There's a father on YouTube. I don't have his name off the top of my head. If I find him, I'll post it up here. And he has gotten famous for the sole fact that he is creating videos on YouTube such as how to shave, how to tie a tie, how to dress for an interview. Simple things that we may think is simple, but people who don't know this, young guys who don't know this, are appreciative because someone, even though this person isn't doing a one-on-one mentorship with these kids, because obviously he can't, but he's putting out this data and he wants to say, look, I have this data. I know what to do, and you're not aware of how to do this. So let me give you this data. Let me teach you how to do this. Let me show you how to move further along in life, even if it's simple skills like that. And we need more of that. Yes, there are organized mentorships. You can call them apprenticeships, such as an electrical apprenticeship and that. But you're not necessarily teaching them anything else outside of how to do their job. Now, some of that might rub in just because of the fact that in order for an apprenticeship to work properly, the master and the apprentice really need to work together and they need to interact quite a bit. In fact, if you haven't, I would definitely recommend reading Don Jones' book, Be the Master. It's a great book. He is recording an audio version of his latest edition. I believe he has said this will be the final version of the book, but knowing Don Jones, that is not a guarantee. But in there, he talks about this concept of mentorship. And he talks about through the idea that we have to be the ones, as ones who are further along in whatever that knowledge is, to not only engage with their people when they ask, but sometimes you kind of have to seek that out. You have to seek those opportunities out. I think, for example, we talked about this today on the podcastathon. With Aaron, there was a situation we called our October conversation. He has talked about it on the podcast before, so it's not like I'm out here spilling any beans or anything. But we talked, it was a situation where I had a youth group kid who kind of wanted to disassociate and do his own thing. And I could have just let that go. I could have just said, whatever, adios. Or I could have realized, hey, maybe there's something going on. And I pursued him. Now, I'll fully admit, part of me was pursuing him to be like, come back to youth group and that. But there's also the realization that something's going on. And even if he doesn't want to come back to youth group, at least I want him to know I'm there. I want him to know he has someone on his side, regardless of what is going on. And I want to continue to be involved to help him grow and mature through whatever it is, whether I'm the one who helps him or not. And it is hard to do that. Investing in other people's lives is some of the most rewarding and hardest thing to do. Rewarding because you see this person grow and mature, change over time. You see them becoming their own independent person. You see them becoming more knowledgeable in things. You see them becoming whatever the goal of that mentorship is. You know, if the goal is to help them run a 5K, and through mentoring them and training with them and encouraging them and getting into the muck and mire with them, you can help them do that. You know, people say, I'm so proud of you. And the reason that you're proud of someone is not because I'm taking that pride onto myself and saying, look what I helped them do. Mentorship is more along the lines of, look at where this person has gone. And the pride is not so much of what I did for them. The pride is seeing them learn to take off on their own. And we need more of that. Right now, America is in turmoil. Easiest way to put it. We got things going on every which way to Sunday. Now, more than ever, we need to be investing in our community, in our young people. We need to say, you matter. And we need to help them wherever they're at. Some may need just someone to talk to. Some may need more structured guidance on things. Each person is going to be different. Each mentor-mentee relationship is going to be different. But we need more people to invest in each other's lives. The concept that we can be a lone wolf doesn't work. It worked in the times when the world was wild. You kind of had to survive on your own. Nowadays, we got 6-7 billion people out there. You do not have to do things on your own. There's always someone who has gone through the same thing you are. That's one of the biggest lies we have told ourselves as a society, and that has dug down deep into us, is that no one else knows what we're going through. And that is utter BS. It really is. Because there's always someone who knows what we're going through. There's always someone who's gone through a very similar situation. And you know what? They can guide us. They can teach us. They can mentor us. And then we owe it to society as a whole. Once we're in a better spot, once we're stable, once we're over that crisis and we're at a point then where we're able to be self-sufficient-ish, with obviously community accountability in that. But you're past that crisis point where you've learned what you need to learn, where you are now able to stand in a way on your own 2 feet with people behind you backing you up. It is our responsibility to turn around and find that next person that needs the help. And those situations come up in such random ways. Sometimes you have to be very intentional at seeking them out. And sometimes those situations will just come and be dropped right on your doorstep. And you go, wow, where did this come from? Because the way we have been going is not sustainable. We need to help each other. One of the best ways to do that is to take this concept of mentoring and being a mentor to others and applying that. Applying that to people at our job where we help them grow in their job. We take that to our church. We help others. We volunteer with the youth group. We do whatever our skill set, and everyone's skill set is different. I am not a person to be going and teaching and mentoring kids or instructing kids on how to do woodworking. I know the basics, but I'm not good at it. Actually, I could use a mentor in that. I could be taught on those things. But on general things, I have some experience. General life, how to deal with depression, suicidal tendencies, how to deal with working through emotions, trauma. I have stuff that I can contribute to these kids, to these younger generations. All of us do. The most boring person in the world, has something that they can teach someone else. Sometimes we just don't realize it. And mentoring doesn't always need to be this structured thing, like you have this 30-day plan of we're going to start here and we're going to go here. Sometimes it's as simple as being a friend. Taking the person out for a meal, sitting and just chatting about what's going on. Because sometimes people, just by being in community, learn. They learn how to be better versions of themselves. They learn new things. They learn from you. And just because maybe you're 19, 18, 17, does not mean there's not someone that you can mentor and teach things to. Again, remember, there's this thing called the birth rate, and there's this thing called aging. I get it. It's weird at times. If there's only like a year difference before, you're like, well, how can I teach this person anything? I'm only a year older. I'm kind of dumb still. I say the same thing every day. Every day I say the same exact thing. But we don't get better at helping others and mentoring them unless we intentionally try to do that. So it seems weird to say that you have to intentionally try to sometimes not intentionally try. If that doesn't confuse you, I please let me know. But that's how I think of it. You have to intentionally seek out those relationships. You have to intentionally seek out those opportunities. And when you're in the midst of them, you don't try to force an agenda on things all the time. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you say, today we are learning how to tie a tie. Today we are learning how to cook a souffle. Today we are learning how to sew. Because sometimes those structured things are needed. Sometimes you just go, hey, want to play a video game? And conversation will naturally occur and come up. And you'll get to the end of, whatever, and be like, wow, I did not see any of that coming. Or you get to the end of it and like, well, it's just time playing video games, whatever. Cool. But the other person on the other end, the receiving end of everything, unknowns to you, they're going, wow, this person spent time with me. They invested in me. It wasn't anything crazy. It was just having some fun playing video games. But they cared enough to take time out of their schedule to engage with things I like. And that simple thing right there can make all the difference. So don't be afraid to help someone, to be their mentor in a way. Because honestly, we all need it. All of us could learn a few things right now. Stay safe. Have a good week. See you Wednesday.